What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and today I'm here to talk about my Nex Machina tips and tricks. Now, we had a beginner's guide that kind of walked you through what you're going to need to know about the game going into it. Kind of some very base level, in a way, tips and tricks of what you need to do if you're just starting to play this game. So this tips and tricks video, I'm assuming you've already watched the beginner's guide or you just know what you're doing, and that's great. Again, I said it in that video, say in this video, it's not to gloat, but I am good at this game. We have videos, we have pictures to back me up that I am very good, very high in all leaderboards, high level, or high difficulty level. I'm very high. I'm in the top 5, I'm in the top 10, I'm in the top 50, I'm in the top 1,000, in a lot of different categories. So I do know what I'm talking about. Like I said in the last video, I'm not saying it to gloat, I'm saying it to show you guys that I do know what I'm talking about, because you always get people that say you don't know what you're talking about. I do feel like I'm one of the better players of these kind of games in the world. I platinumed Resogun on PS4 and PS Vita. I platinum games like Sound Shapes and Velocity 2X. These games are what I really live for. I absolutely love Nex Machina, and I love all those other games. So, tips and tricks. This video is going to go more in depth in how to do certain things. So, in the last video I talked about base level stuff. I talked about a couple of the weapons that I thought are very good. Now for the powers that you're going to get, the ones that you can like stack and get like 5 or 6 of them, the ones that do weapon range and all that stuff, you just need to pick those up as often as humanly possible. You just pick them up. Accumulate them. There's no bad one of those. There's no bad ones. As for the weapon, like the detonator, the rocket launcher, the bomb that explodes around only you, I don't remember what that one's called, but there's a lot of different weapons, and they all do things various ways. And I'd argue, and I'd say that detonator and rocket launcher are my two best. I think those are the two best weapons that the game has. The worst, in my opinion, is the laser. And it's only the laser because it doesn't seem to do that much damage, especially to enemies that you use the weapons on. And it locks you kind of into a position. It takes a very long time for you to actually spin around. And like I said in this game, you need to constantly be moving. You need to be turning. You need to get the enemies to go where you want them to go. And I'll talk about that in this video. So laser beam just doesn't do it. Like when the turrets start moving, detonator and rocket launcher, extremely versatile. You can shoot that off while you're moving around and still be very agile. So those are the two best ones to use. And in terms of how to use them, I use them on the biggest enemies. I never use them, for the most part, on small enemies. I use them on lasers, on turrets. I use them on the big guys. I use them on bosses. I use them to do far away things. If I'm clustered in with a bunch of small enemies, I'll use them. But I mainly use my normal gun for the small enemies. And that goes for both of them. Like I said, you use your powers. You just stack your powers. Now, you're going to get them by basically blowing up everything. And like I said in the beginner's guide, I'm not even sure where all the hidden things are in the worlds. I've destroyed a couple secret beacons. I found several secret humans. I found several hidden levels. So I'm starting to find them, but I haven't found all of them. But the more you start finding and the more you destroy, not only are you going to get a lot of points and up your rankings on leaderboards, but you're also going to find extra lives. You're going to find these powers. You're going to be able to have more options in terms of what weapon you use. So it's important to literally destroy everything. And what I recommend is do this on lower difficulties and figure out and remember where it is, so that when you play on higher difficulties, you know. I would never suggest trying to look out and actively search for these things on veteran or master. You're never going to be able to do it. You're going to be way too preoccupied with the actual enemies to actually go searching for something. Now, in terms of strategy, in terms of actually destroying the enemies, what do you got to do? Well, one of the most important things is to continuously move. You never want to put yourself up against a wall, that's for certain. What I recommend is going into circles, going into kind of half circles. You want the enemies to form a kind of arc and follow you, so you can get them in a straight line. Like I said, you're never going to want to stay in the same spot because then they'll surround you. You want them basically in a straight line. So even cornering yourself isn't the worst idea as long as it's like a narrow passage for them to get to you. But like I said, you want to spin around them. You want to make them follow you in an arc. This worked with Resogun. This works here. That's the best way to do it. Like I said, dashing is also insanely important. Once you get explosive dash, you can use this to actually hurt enemies. Or swoop in, save a human, and destroy the enemy that's trying to harvest it all at the same time. But dashing is so important, and you will forget that you have the dash ability, but it's so important to use because it can get you out of situations. They can't hit you when you're in the middle of the dash. Just make sure you don't dash into another enemy, because then once you reappear, you will die. So dashing is something that you're really going to need to do. Using the weapons as often as possible. Don't just use the weapons when you feel like it, when you feel like you absolutely need to. Use them all the time. Use the rocket launcher every single time it reloads. It's going to help you, especially in the higher difficulties. Obviously, save as many humans as you want. I'd say don't worry about the humans as much as you may think you need to worry. I love saving humans. I'm a big human saver, but you're never going to be able to save all of them, and oftentimes you're not going to be able to find them all anyway, like the secret ones. So you're never going to unlock or get the trophy for it anyway. But humans give you points, which will up your score and up your leaderboard ranking, but they're not worth putting yourself in super danger. If you can get a human, go right ahead, get a human, but what I wouldn't recommend is going into it when you don't need, when the stakes are too high for yourself. Constantly be looking at your lives, see how much lives you have. Always be looking out for the shield to get the shield, and never jeopardize the shield itself. Just because you have a shield doesn't mean you can take extra risks, I'd say. You always want to still be careful with it. Another thing with destroying enemies is being close to them. Now, I found this with the second boss, like the gorilla. Getting close to him is one of the best things you could possibly do. You do more damage the closer you get to bosses, or any enemies for that matter, like ones that will harvest humans. So what I found is, with him kind of shooting all these rocks at you, and with the map just getting so hectic where you can't see anything, getting close early on and trying to stay there as long as possible does the job, because the closer you are, the more damage you're going to do. And I feel like I forgot that as I was playing. Obviously, it's safer to shoot far away, but you're not going to do as much damage, and it just depends on how long you think you can hold out on a specific level, on a specific world. I would say a tip/trick would be to do a single world first. Playing arcade is a ton of fun, obviously, and it lets you go through all the worlds so long as you survive it, and you're going to need to do that for trophy purposes if you want. But in terms of understanding the world, like I said, like really getting a feel of it, I highly suggest just doing a single world first. That's what I did. I jumped in and I just did single world on each of the worlds until I got used to what it looks like and how it plays and the enemy types, because each world has its own enemy. So I feel like that's extremely important. You don't always want to go into those places blind, and the problem with arcade is, say you bust through the first world, that's great. Say you make it through the second world, that's great. You get to the third world, you're low on lives. You're probably mentally wiped out because you've been playing and you've survived so long, but you don't have many lives left. Maybe you've died a couple times, so your powers aren't the greatest. And you're going into unfamiliar territory. You've never played the maps before. Now, a downside to doing single world is you start out very weak. If you do arcade mode, once the one world ends and you jump to the next world, you carry over everything from the first one. So you can start the second world, start the third, start the fourth, whatever. Very, very powerful with your weapons, like your gun. Your gun will be super powerful. You'll have actual weapons like a rocket launcher or like whatever. Now, if you just do single world, you don't start with those things. You start just plain. So that is a problem, and that is challenging because the first couple levels, especially on higher difficulties, are not going to be easy. So you're going to have to get used to them and build up those perks, those powers, all that stuff before you actually make any forward progress in any of these levels to begin with. So single worlds have their pros and have their cons for sure. I do still recommend playing it, if nothing else, than to get familiar with the actual world before you jump in arcade or an arena, where you have to reach a certain point threshold in order to get currency that you can unlock different kind of play styles. So that's what I got for my Nex Machina tips and tricks. If you need help with any specific thing in this game, worlds, bosses, how to use a certain weapon, anything, if you want help with a specific thing, leave it in the comments below. If these videos do well enough, like if they get significant views, I will make videos specifically on the things that you guys need help with. So if you want to know how to beat the second boss, the third boss, if you want to know how to beat World 3, let me know in the comments below very specifically what you need help with. I'll make videos on them specifically to walk you guys through it. I feel like this is a very niche kind of game that there won't be too many videos out there helping you, and I'm glad to be the channel and be the one to help you guys out. So leave it in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to Podcast Now, our YouTube channel, for more of this content. Make sure you like and share this video. Let me know what you guys have thought of Nex Machina so far. Watch the beginner's guide. The review will be coming out soon as well. And like I said, the future help with whatever you guys want will come out if you guys request it and if these do good enough. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next video.